is the way that you need to leave your answer. So again, just write it in your answer space. M plus 21, all divided by 5. Okay, next one then. We've now been asked to make P the subject. Okay, so exactly the same as before. I'm just going to rewrite the formula so it's a bit bigger. So 4 on P minus 2Q is equal to 3P plus 2. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to expand my bracket. So that means I need to multiply everything in this bracket by 4. So 4 times P is going to give me 4P. 4 times minus 2Q is going to give me minus 8Q. And I know that that is equal to 3P add 2. Okay, now remember I want to make P the subject of the formula. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get all my P's to where I have more P's. So I've got more P's here because 4 P's is more than 3 P's. So I'm going to subtract 3P from both sides of my equation. So that's going to give me 4P minus 3P is just P, minus the 8Q is just equal to 2. Okay, if I want P on its own, I now need to get rid of minusing 8Q. So I'm going to add 8Q to both sides. So that is going to give me P is equal to 2 plus 8Q. And again, just write that quickly in your answer space. So P is equal to 2 plus 8Q. Okay, so for question 17, you've got a question involving a right-angled triangle. So that means it could be one of two things. It could be Pythagoras, which we saw earlier. It could be trigonometry. Now, in this case, we know it's going to be trigonometry because we have an angle. So if you're just dealing with side lengths and you're not being asked to find an angle, it's Pythagoras. If you're being asked to find sides or being asked to find angles and you've got one side and an angle, then you know it's trigonometry. So, first thing I need to do in any trigonometry question is label the sides of my triangle. So, the side that I have is the 12 centimetre side, and that is the hypotenuse. So I'm going to label that as H. The side that I'm being asked to find is AB. Okay? So AB is the side that we call the opposite because it's opposite this 32-degree angle. Okay, we now need to think about our trig ratio. So I've got my sine ratio, which involves the opposite and hypotenuse. I've got my cosine ratio, which involves the adjacent and hypotenuse. I've got my tangent ratio, which involves the opposite and adjacent. Now, by labelling your triangle, you can see that we have the opposite and we have the hypotenuse. So that means I'm interested in sine. Okay, I'm going to start off then by writing out what I know. So I know that sine of my angle is equal to opposite divided by hypotenuse. I'm now just going to substitute in the things I know. So I know my angle is 32 degrees. So I know that sine of 32 is going to be equal to AB, so that's what I'm trying to find, divided by 12. Okay, I rearranged this exactly the same as I did in the last question. So to get rid of dividing by 12, I'm going to times by 12. So I know that 12 times sine of 32 is going to give me the length AB. Now it's just a case of putting that in your calculator. Now really, really important here, make sure that your calculator is in degrees. The way that you tell that is you should have a D at the top there, okay? Okay, so just typing in what I need to type in. So 12 times sine of 32 is equal to 6.35903. Now you're being asked to give it to 3 significant figures, so it's going to be 6.35. Then we look at the next digit, which is a 9. So in this case we round up, so our answer is 6.367. centimetres. Okay, question 18. A graphs question. Okay, so it's in two parts. We need to complete our table of values and then we need to plot our points. So, first things first then. My equation is x cubed plus 3 lots of x. So for the first one then, when x is minus 1, I need to do minus 1 cubed plus 3 times minus 1. Now minus 1 cubed just means I do minus 1 times minus 1 times minus 1, so that's just minus 1. Okay, 3 times minus 1 is minus 3, so it's going to be minus 1 minus 3, which is equal to minus 4. Okay, the next one then, I need to do 1 cubed plus 3 times 1. So 1 cubed means do 1 times 1 times 1, which is just 1, plus 3 times 1, which is just 3, so that's equal to 4. Okay, the last value I need to substitute, 2 cubed plus 3 times 2. So 2 cubed means 2 times 2, which is 4, times another 2, which is 8, plus the 6 for 3 times 2 is equal to 14. Okay, so that's 2 marks for filling in the table correctly. We now need to plot our points. So I'm plotting the point minus 2 minus 14. So I go along to minus 2. Okay, now minus 14 is going to be exactly in the middle of the minus 12 and the minus 16. So if you need to use your ruler to look along, that's absolutely fine. It's going to be here. Plot your point. Then I'm plotting the point minus 1 minus 4, which is a bit easier to plot. Then I'm plotting the point 0, 0. Then I'm plotting the point 1, 4. Then I'm plotting the point 2, 14. Now, from looking at your graph, you can hopefully see that you are not getting a straight line. If you've got a graph that is an x squared graph or an x cubed graph, you are not expecting a straight line. So the way we join up this graph is we need to join it with a smooth curve going through all the points. Like so. Okay, so question 19. So James invested £2,000 for 3 years in an internet savings account. He's paid 5.5% compound interest, and you're being asked to work out the total interest earned after 3 years. Okay, now this question is quite misleading in the way that it's asked. So, first thing we do, for compound interest, you take your original amount, so 2,000, and you multiply it by 1 plus the interest rate as a decimal. Now, 5.5% as a decimal is going to be 0.055. So we need to multiply by 1.055. Now, if I just typed that into my calculator, that would find me how much he had after 1 year. But I want to know how much he had after 3 years. So I need to do it to the power of 3. Okay, so get in your calculator, 2,000 times 1.055 to the power of 3. Okay, you get an answer of 2,348.48275. However, it's money, so we're going to round it to 2 decimal places. So I'm interested in this digit here. I round down because it's a 2. So after the 3 years, he's going to have £2,348.48. However, this isn't answering the question yet because you're being asked for the total interest. That's the total amount he would have. So the total interest is going to be 2,348.48 minus the 2,000. So his total interest is going to be 348.48.
Ladies and gents, if you're in set 3 or 4, you've now got a choice. We're now moving on to the A and A style questions. So for those of you in set 3 and 4, which I think is from this row onwards, it's around about here where the split begins to occur. Okay. If you would wish to stop here, then you can choose to do so. You may, however, I know that what several students said last time was it was really interesting to see what the next follow-on questions involve. And if you want to stay and work your way through those follow-on questions to see what that involves, see whether or not you can strap the marks in that particular way, then you can do so. Students in set 2, you will all be remaining because you will be targeting your own star rounds. Okay? So spend a few moments making your decisions, and then I'm going to quietly ask those people to go and get their gear. You need to take your papers with you, because that is now material that you can use to revise from between now and tomorrow. So take your booklets with you, and we will see you for the last paper tomorrow. But bear in mind, please, that there is no talking until I ask you to leave. I will be letting you go row by row, so please wait until I allow you out. So 1, 2, 3. Any other set 4 students? Do you want to move across? So you're not all there and go on your own? Come on, Billy. Right, quiet please. Pretty nice. Okay, we're on the home straight set 2s. Okay, so this is the A&A style questions. These are the ones that you need to target to get your best possible grade. Let's move on.
Okay, so question 20, part 1, you're being asked to expand and simplify. Now, the key thing here is this squared. Remember, squared means multiply by itself. So what this means is I'm going to keep this n squared anyway, and that means I need to do n plus 1 times n plus 1. So I'm going to leave my first n squared on its own because I can't do anything with that at the moment. I'm now going to expand my brackets. So step by step, my first terms, n times n gives me n squared. my outer terms. N times plus 1 gives me plus n. 1 times n gives me plus n. 1 times 1 gives me 1. Okay, now I can do some simplifying. I've done the expand bit, and now I need to simplify. N squared add n squared gives me 2n squared. N add n gives me 2n. And I've still got my plus 1. Okay, you are now told that n is a whole number, and you're being asked to prove that what you've just expanded, so remember this is exactly the same as this up here, you've been asked to prove that that is an odd number. Okay, key thing here is understanding about odd and even numbers. It's just horrible because it's written in algebra. So, first things first, if n is a whole number, that means that n squared plus n is a whole number. Okay, what that means then is that 2n squared plus 2n must be even, because if we multiply any whole number by 2,